Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network, and we are back discussing episode 4, Woe's Hollow. This is season 2 of Severance, hottest show on television right now. I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined, as always, by Liz Seiko.
What's going on?
And Michael Peniston.
Hello, everyone.
As soon as this episode dropped, I didn't watch it I watched it on Saturday morning. And I saw on Twitter, people were saying Friday morning, they were like, you should watch this episode as soon as possible before something gets spoiled. Because there's like so much that happened in this episode. Mm-hmm. So we've been discussing the last few weeks about how the image had been released of everybody in their winter clothing. We finally get there with episode 4 with an ORTBO. I forget exactly what that stands for. Do you remember?
Outdoor retreat and team building occurrence.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Liz. And so we have the team on an excursion, and they're in the wintry forest, and lots happen. We get a lot of information about characters. We see them outside of their comfort zone for the first time in a long time. But again, we really got to this point that we had at least had previewed to us in the images. So Liz, first thing is like when you saw where we were in terms of the setting, did you start getting like giddy? Were you like, oh my God, this is going to be so exciting?
Yeah, honestly, right away, because I was just like, I was happy. I was like, yes, give us it right now so that we can figure out. Because otherwise, if they left that shot to the last episode, everybody would kind of be anticipating for it because that was the big promo shot. So I think to put it up this early in the season is smart because people won't be able to start guessing around that. I also was excited that it actually was the innies because I remember in a past episode of us talking about it, we were trying to figure out if it was going to be all the outies meeting up somewhere or if it was the innies. I like having the innies be in a different environment because you really get to see you just get to see a new element of Lumon and what it means to be an innie rather than in the typical like cubicle office environment. So I loved it.
Michael, how'd you feel about the episode?
I agree to everything Liz pointed out. This was definitely, I think, the strongest episode, and which is a lot to say considering each episode has been so good. But it was so cool to see them not only in a different environment, but for it to be like in the middle of the woods and like this wintry sort of just so contrasting from what we've seen. So that was really cool. It was cool to see the things that Lumon can do at this point and like what they have control of that we really just don't truly understand. Like my mind is still trying to process how the hell we even ended up here, but like who knows if we'll even get that answer, to be honest, at this point.
I don't know if we will.
Yeah, you don't think so?
I don't know. I think that the part of this show is so good too is because they don't feel like they have to give the audience every answer about everything. I mean, my first instinct is that it was just like all simulation at a certain point and that they didn't actually have them outside. I mean, they could have, but like, I don't know, to have them all just like start the episode of all of them just magically appearing in this place and not being like driven or like on a bus somewhere, it makes me think that they were just like asleep and then popped up. This also for me was one of the creepiest episodes. It just was the most uneasy feeling throughout. While other ones, sometimes you get a nice moment of like, oh, that was a sweet scene, or you just get to know more characters. This for me, it must have been the music, but the whole time I was just on edge being like, something's going down.
Yeah, well, it's unnerving because you're putting your central characters in a location that we're not accustomed to seeing them in, and they're also so confused on what's happening. You have basically these inflatable versions of themselves pointing them in directions
so weird
that are also like out of focus and far enough away that you can't actually see what they are. Like, are they human beings? Are they robots? Are they balloons? Like you literally can't tell what they are. The first thing I noticed that I was like, man, something's so off, and it's such a little detail, but it's like they walk up to this TV set that has Milchick on it, and the TV just turns on and nothing is plugged in. So they can just use whatever. They don't need technology. They don't need
electricity.
Yeah. Like, so
That's so weird.
I was excited though to see them in this environment. And to see, like you talked about how they were the innies there, and some of them are, but some of them, again, we're at a different place now where we at least have an understanding that Mark has been reintegrated and that Helena is in this world. We eventually get the full reveal of that, even though we all kind of predicted that was what was happening. Jumping ahead to that point, on Irving in general, this episode, we had said something was coming with him. Because it's been kind of a quiet season for Totoro, and he shines in this episode. There's a lot to what goes on with him and him kind of acting upon his trepidation towards Helena. Did you feel that? Did you think we were going to get something at like that by the end of this episode? It was building, but it also was like it kind of caught me off guard a little bit by the end, and then kind of what happens afterwards, but.
I wasn't expecting it until honestly when he walked off alone in the forest. I was like, oh, this isn't going to be good for our guy Irv. Like, this isn't going to end well, just because you know what, at that point, the episode, it had built all this anticipation, but nothing really had actually happened necessarily. So just like textbook wise television making, if you have such a long drawn out anticipation, you need to have a huge moment in order for that anticipation to build to a satisfying ending. And I was like, I kind of was like, okay, either he like physically attacks somebody, which like he does, or I was like, a part of me was like, oh my God, he's just going to freeze to death and like fall asleep. Yeah. And then nobody's ever going to find out if he was right, or we're never going to find out why he kept drawing all these hallways, which would have been a disappointing ending if he just died in his sleep. So I loved the ending. As sad as it is to, I mean, we're at spoilers at this point. Yeah. As sad as it is to see any Irving go away, I don't know if I necessarily want to use the term die, because I don't know, you just don't know with Severance, like, do they actually completely delete all their innies when they do this? Or is there a way for them to still keep them and just have them like asleep in a way? Do you know what I mean?
I think Mark has to just be the key to all of it. Like, I think that now, yeah, because especially because he's reintegrated, like both, and you see it, like you see it play out after him and Helena have sex, and he like is looking at her, and you see Miss Casey.
I know, that's the one thing too. The whole episode, I was like, okay, is this before Mark getting integrated, or like what's going on? Because I don't think that they showed a lot of him being.
That was the only thing.
That was the only moment. So the whole time I was like, what time frame are we in?
Well,
like, is this beforehand or what's going on?
That's what you brought up, right? Like they kind of just place us in the middle of nowhere. Like they don't give, and I think they do that purposefully to kind of throw everybody off, because Severance likes to do shit like that.
They want to do whatever they want to do.
I know, because they're amazing.
I love it.
But yeah, like how did you feel about the Irving stuff, and I guess the reintegration with Mark?
So going into this episode, I remember I was really excited based off the last episode with our boy Irv. You could tell was getting to this place of just full, I don't care anymore, and that he had so much suspicion that it was bound to reach this level at some point. I didn't think it was going to be this soon, or up to this level at least, but I knew it had to have been coming. As far as the ending, I'm so happy. I hate to say that because it was so dramatic and
intense.
It was intense. Yeah. It was assault. But I don't know. I just feel like at this stage in the game with where they're at, they need to be making more bold moves like this to get more answers. And this is the first time where like he took an initiative, and not only did they get answers, but like they all realized even further that like, what are we doing? Because a few of them I feel like had gotten kind of like a little comfortable with where they were. I think some like things were
Dylan, certainly.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
He wants to see his honey.
Yes. And so I feel like they needed this wake up call. And unfortunately, I'm so sad. I don't know what's gonna happen with Irv. I do think that maybe you are right. I think that I don't see them just like getting rid of that part of them. Maybe it is like a switch, and like they always, once you undergo that surgery, I don't see how you could just revert or like kind of go back. I feel like it's always in there somehow. So I don't know, but it was just, as far as what occurred with even Milchek, the moment where she like screamed out Seth, I don't know if that was like a new detail or not, but like everything that happened from the moment of us realizing this is not Helly to her coming back, and it was so perfect to me. And I'm so happy that, again, this is episode 4 and we're getting this type of stuff.
It's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, the tension of that whole scene was perfect to me. Like, there were so many elements of it. Like, the fact that he grabbed her and he was automatically screaming Milchek. I'm like, why does he need Milchek?
Yeah.
Like, immediately, I'm like, why does he need him to see this?
Yeah.
And then you're getting all the different reactions from everybody. Like, Mark just had sex with this woman for the first time, and he's like, I love this woman, and he's like, you're fucking killing her, and he doesn't have any idea. Like, at that point, Mark doesn't realize that that's Helena. Dylan is just like, what the, like, typical Dylan fashion, like, what the fuck, dude? Like what's happening? Helena calling him Seth, the build up with the music, like, that scene was great. Like, there was so many layers to it. I don't know where they go from here with that, though. Like, obviously, but that's kind of the beauty of Severance. Like, where are they going to go next? We now have Helly back for at least the time being, right? So what are the repercussions of that? Helly isn't aware that she had sex with Mark.
I know, like, okay,
which is crazy.
That's a
crazy.
Whole other,
and
that's all the
be
sci-fi stuff, but then you have like the emotional toll that all this is taking, and then it's also like, if Mark is fully integrated now, so then it's like Innie Mark and Outie Mark are both. I mean, we see it when he's having sex with Helly. He clearly sees Miss Casey, also his wife, and so I feel like those emotions are going to come into play. And it's like, does he tell Helly that it happened or not, or does he just like keep it quiet?
Well, even Helly doesn't even realize what the fuck.
Well, that's what I mean. Does he say to her like, I had sex with your Outie as you, or does he just be like, I'm not saying anything to her?
I don't know.
I don't know
so
either.
Crazy.
I think he doesn't say anything.
It's so wild.
I think he has to say something, just because I feel like he won't be able to. I don't know. I just feel like he won't be able to resist. I don't want to say resist, but I feel like it's going to reach that point in the story where it's like he's going to feel that need. I don't know. I just feel like if they are already having sets now, then like it could escalate further quicker than we anticipate.
But I think it's also like, does he then completely not trust her sometimes? Because then how does he know if it's actually her ever, whenever they're coming back down?
I think he's gonna walk on eggshells for a bit with her.
Absolutely. I think he's gonna be like, wait a minute, I thought that
she's
you were this whole time. How do I know if you're not
she's gonna be like, I didn't even know that she had control, and she's gonna want answers from him.
And he'll
be like, we met some goat people, like, and I think that's really like, he's not gonna give her a lot of the personal stuff. Like, Helly is still not even aware of Miss Casey being his wife.
No, the last time she was awake, she got tackled on stage trying to tell everybody. That was her last awareness, and then all of a sudden she's woken up to be
drowned.
God,
it's crazy.
Like that's crazy. That's crazy.
So wild.
And so that's what I mean. Like, this girl is like getting hit by a truck one after another, and then what? This guy that she kind of has an office crush on, they just kissed. He's gonna be like, by the way, you and me, like.
That's
I put a baby in Outie Helly.
Yeah, like, how is he supposed to tell her that? I don't know.
It's wild. I mean, it's wild. Like the whole concept of just being able to switch places, and that's why even the thing, like, I'm still wrapping my brain around like the Milchek thing.
What do you mean?
From last week too. Like last week's episode, when like he has this moment where he's so euphoric about getting this promotion, and he's always wanted to work up to this moment, and then he has this moment of like racial anxiety, essentially, with the pictures. And the next time we see him now, he's like just doing his job. But there's more like to that. There's more to now the fact that, again, like, he has to deal with the repercussions that he was working with Outie Helena. Like, there has to be so much more with him too. I think you had discussed like him teaming up with them at some point. Like, who are we going up against now at this point? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I mean, do we think that Milchek is like his job's on the end, like on the table now? Because clearly this, ORTBO, whatever it was supposed to be, was a huge bomb, a huge fail. The daughter of the CEO almost got murdered. He had to get rid of one of their best innies because Irving was one of their like top employees for a while, and now everybody knows that they were spying on them this whole time. So I wouldn't be surprised if Milchek gets fired, low key.
And then they bring back Cobell.
Part of me thinks that they're like, this is out of control. We need somebody that has a firm hand on this. And then they bring her back in.
That'd be crazy.
Great, because we didn't get her. I mean, we didn't get a lot of people.
We got nothing from her in this
but like,
episode,
the last that we saw her was her walking away from Helena.
Yeah.
So they got to bring her back into this. And the only thing that I can think is that Milchek totally dropped the ball on this like outing experience that was supposed to probably let them be illuminated by Lumon's story of the twin brother and all of this and have them be like a bonding experience. And really it all just went to shit.
Yeah. I mean, so much so that they even like, they poke fun at the story.
So
like with the humor.
Well, like when you mean like when they're around the
Mark
fire.
Mark and Helena, yeah.
But I think that was like a planned thing.
What do you mean?
So if it was Helena laughing, like she's an Egan, she doesn't find that stuff funny. I think that she was like putting it on.
Oh no, I agree.
So that they could find out like, okay, who here finds it a joke too.
Interesting layer.
Yeah.
And then Irv didn't think it was funny.
Irv didn't think it was funny at all. And Mark only was like laughing because he's like, ooh, she's laughing, I'm gonna laugh.
I don't know. It was such an interesting episode. Like there were so many things. I mean, the layers of the story too, and how they come from the two brothers from the womb, right?
The two brothers. Okay, the brother story. We gotta talk about those guys. The two brothers from the womb, they are twins, and essentially they like go and live in the forest together. And then Kieran, what is his brother's name? Dieter, yeah. Dieter, he like just masturbates a lot and he gets mad. Essentially, is that the story that I heard?
I don't know the way they use fucking language. I can't even keep up with some of it. I know that. Well, I think the brother got mad because Kier got mad. Kier got mad because
his brother was like
masturbating everywhere
in their home, which is in the forest. And then essentially the forest like took like killed his brother. And then he didn't want to hear his brother dying, and so he went to the waterfall.
Was that what it was, or he was the one who killed his brother?
I thought
in the waterfall.
Yeah, I thought he was the one that killed the brother.
That's how I interpreted it.
Okay.
We got to go back and watch this episode.
I think we just need to get the text up and reread it.
Yeah. Oh my god!
But do you think that this is actually a true story, or you think that this is just like pure propaganda that they're typing up to get them to be like, oh, like twin? I don't know. Do you think he actually had a brother?
I don't know if he actually had a brother. I do think that it's a lie, and I think that, and this is why I think that I interpret it as Kier killing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all just another way to amplify Kier to a degree,
to make him seem like a god.
Yeah.
But so then, why would they say that he killed his brother?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Power.
I think the thing with the twin was placed for the fact that we're going to have to see something at some point. Also, they're twins, and you have the twin element of like the innie and the outie.
Which and then you also had the twins of the people pointing them in the right direction.
I mean, it all correlates to like the weirdness of Severance.
I know, of like multiple people.
And I don't think it's coincidence. Like they're doing the things they're doing for a reason. One thing we didn't talk about that I want to go back to really quick was when Irv was able to figure out that Helly was Helena.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a great detail. about how she was cruel. Going into the point where you were talking about how like she played into the thing at the fire, but she wasn't smart enough to play into that.
Yeah.
So now that we're without Irv, who is arguably the one who probably had the best handle on it. Now, obviously, everybody knows what's happening, but now we're dealing with Innie, Helly anyway. Like, we can't progress forward with trying to, like, ask questions to Outie, Helly. Like, how do you think they go about it now? Like, Mark and Dylan, do you think we're going to get a new fourth? Like how do they proceed from where they're at right now?
I think they get a new fourth person.
You think it's someone we've seen already?
I think it's probably one of the people from the beginning. I'm thinking maybe the girl.
Alia Shawkat, yeah. From Arrested.
I think there's multiple different routes now. I think that Mark is going to kind of be super confused in the next episode because he's going to be just like, oh my God, Helly, my wife. But then I'm also integrated now, so I have to cover that up. And I think he's going to not really know what his next move is. I think he's just going to kind of be like emotionally torn in the next episode rather than like going and finding answers.
Yeah.
Helly, I think that we are going to get answers from her because they can finally tell them. She'll come in and be like, oh my God, my Outie is the daughter of the CEO. And like all this stuff was said. And she observed a lot that day when she was going around and seeing all the pictures and what the movement was and what they were trying to achieve. So I think they will get answers. The question is if Mark actually believes her or if he's just going to be paranoid of like, how can I trust that this is actually you that came back here or if it isn't Helena again? And then, yeah, what do you guys think on that?
What do you think?
Oh man, there's so much. I'm like really trying to think.
This is a very like this is a tough episode to kind of assess.
Yeah,
knowing where we go next because there's so many things that can happen.
Yeah. I feel like moving forward, I do think that a lot of what you said. First of all, to your point, Darian, I do think that we are going to get a fourth person. I agree. Whether it is the girl from the beginning or not, it would be cool to see a new character in the midst. I think that they're all 100% going to be affected by this in some way. I think Mark, like you said, Liz, like is going to be already now integrated, and I think that the next episode we probably will see a little bit more of that sort of effect.
He's got to keep that hidden.
You
can't show that.
Exactly. You know? Yeah. So I think that we're going to see that in and out a lot more, and it's going to play a major toll. I think that there's no trust right now with Helly, to be honest. I don't think so. Hence why I think also he won't reveal that info as far as what happened. He's going to be in a really weird place. I think Helly herself is going to be in a weird place because a lot of stuff now is also kind of, I don't want to say a lot of stuff has happened, but things have happened that have occurred that she's probably in a very confused place with Helena being there and wondering like, what did she do while I was gone? But also, like you said, bringing up now that she knows the whole backstory. I do think she'll confront everyone with that info. I think that she'll bring that up. Because that's now, I think, going to end up being a driving force for them as far as Helly being back and knowing that info. I think that just speaking on the three of them, I don't want to leave Dylan out the midst. I do think that Dylan is also going to be affected by this. I think that we had that huge moment where Dylan almost like apologized to Irv for like, I should have listened to you. Like,
I'm sorry. I should have listened.
So I think that there's going to be like this level of a little bit more defiance, but like being torn, like we said, with like the whole family aspect with him. And so I don't know.
Even the milkshake thing though too, like the fact that now Mark and Dylan are aware that like Outie Helly is very familiar with Milkshake on a different level. Like none of them knew what his first name was.
That's true.
Like that, it hasn't been uttered like throughout the whole 2 seasons or 1.5 seasons thus far, unless you're dealing with characters on the outside, like specifically, not even characters on the outside, but people that work for Lumon, like on the outside. Like when he goes and visits Audi Irving and Audi Dylan and Audi Mark, like they just still know him as Mr. He's like, I'm Mr. Milchick. Like he's still referring to himself as that. So I still think there's going to be something big with his character next week. But I don't know, man. Like it leaves a lot more questions than answers at the end of it, but it's an intense episode that had like almost everything in it. Like,
yeah, I think he gets fired. I think that they move him from his position.
I mean, yeah, it would make the most sense. I mean, we have to see Cobell come back at some point.
We have to see her come back. I think that there's
a lot of loose ends. Persephone, we haven't seen, like,
no,
she's pissed about the whole situation with her husband now working directly with Lumon to get his book on the inside for the innies. We have the other character that reintegrated Mark. Like, we didn't see her, obviously, at all this episode either.
I don't know if we'll see her.
Like, the aftermath of that, like, the significance. She's the only one that has answers about Miss Casey.
I guess.
Like, there's so many loose ends. I mean, we still have so many episodes left. We're not even halfway through, but
I know, that's the crazy thing. I think the one thing with Dylan, Dylan was probably the most comfortable at this point and was like, you know what, I can get back into the Lumon boat, like if I get to see my Audi's wife. But now I think his motive is completely changing, and I think he's gonna feel like a duty to keep working toward what Irv was working toward, which is finding that hallway. I think he's gonna be like, I gotta figure out what this hallway is and why he kept drawing it.
Yeah, that would make sense. Until there's complications, and then the new boss potentially comes in and goes, "Are you ready?" Or Cobell comes in, she goes, "Are you ready to see your wife, Dylan?"
Yeah.
And then he finally sees her again, and then he's like, "Fuck."
And then what? Do you think he like talks to the wife and is like, "I need you to find this guy, Irving"?
Yeah, I think.
Liz
is pumped. She just figured something
guys. Out. Do you think but they're listening to the conversation?
Yeah, I think that part of it is going to be something like maybe he writes something down and like
passes it to her.
I could see something like that happening.
She did. Okay,
have the bag.
She had the bag, and she was like, "All my personal stuff is in this bag."
Yeah.
Michael is like,
I'm like,
I still think the key to getting back to Irving to help on the outside is going to be Mark, because Mark's still
he's integrated.
Yeah, he knows what's happening. But I do think that he's gonna at some point have to get like the other part is that to this point. None of the now, especially now with Helly, I don't know if Helena, she probably obviously did know, but none of the characters that we're now left with still in Lumon know about what Dylan's doing, meeting with his wife.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that except for Milchick and Miss Huang. So like that's another layer that needs to be peeled back now. Like he's gonna have to say something. Like he probably will next episode. He'll like be like, yeah, well they're incentivizing this, and then Mark's like, okay, we can work with that. And maybe they do something, or maybe Helly now is the one that starts working. Like Helly being back is an interesting dynamic.
It's so interesting because she's also a very big like go-getter in the group, where she's like, no, let's get things done. And she's going to be back and be like,
well, now she might have PTSD because she wakes up and she's being drowned by her friend. So she doesn't trust anybody. Like the same thing could happen. She can come back and be like, the last time I woke up, I didn't know what was happening and I almost died. And then she's like, now you're telling me we had sex. Like, I don't know who the fuck to believe. Like, the emotional strings that can be pulled through all of it. Like, there's a lot. It's a hell of an episode.
Well, and now they know that there's something called, what is it, Glasgow block?
The Glasgow block, yeah.
So now do they trust, like, are they just, like, aware at all times of, like, who are you, who are you, who are you? It adds a whole nother layer now that they know about this.
Yeah, it definitely does.
It does.
I found it interesting. No opening sequence.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There's none.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Do you have anything? Do you have any predictions, some theories?
I literally I thought I did. And then you guys like blew my mind 14 times, different times in this conversation. I like genuinely don't know. Like I like am at a place right now where I literally don't. I don't even think I could say anything right now, just because I just need to watch the next episode. I'm so caught off guard by two things. One, when you brought up Dylan bringing his wife into the midst, and then if she operates as like this outside force for them, I didn't even think about how she could get involved in this. I don't remember the other one. I'm sorry.
There's a lot. I mean, there's definitely a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My head
I
explodes.
mean,
I'm excited. I mean, this show, I love that we have a show that there's like so much to dive into week by week. I mean, it's definitely the most talked about show. Like, I have a lot of friends that caught up to watch the show for the first time that are now watching it week to week. A lot of my friends that are like casual television watchers, like most people are watching this show right now. So if you're not watching Severance, try to catch up because it's definitely the best show on television right now. But I feel like that's pretty much it, right? There's not much else for us to cover.
I don't have anything else. It was a great episode. It was wild that it was only the 4th one.
Yeah. Got a lot left to go. We got 10, right?
10.
So we got another 6.
Another 6.
Very exciting. But let us know in the comments, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Let us know your theories, your predictions going forward. Were you guys shocked by everything that we saw as the way we were? Give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. You can also see more of our content on social media. All that stuff is below me in the video and in the description as well. We're on Facebook, we're on Threads, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram. We have a bunch of stuff for you guys that we're covering, and we're covering a bunch of other shows right now. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Invincible, some upcoming movies. It's been an interesting start to the year thus far in terms of movies, but Mickey 17's coming out soon, the new Bong Joon-ho movie. I'm not sure if we're covering anything else before that in terms of movies, but the Oscars are coming. White Lotus we're starting to cover next week. There's a lot. So there's a bunch of stuff for you guys to check out on the channel. So be sure to do that if you guys can as well. Just signing off, I am Darian Scalamoni.
I am Liz Seiko.
I'm Michael Peniston.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.